Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I think what I love most about our show is that we're just a wealth of information, and we're going to be sharing it today with our audience.
Yes, we are. But before we share all of this wealth of information, let's share the wealth of information that we have about Card Talk. I'll do it quickly. If you want to see the review, but read about it, not hear it or see it on YouTube, you can see us over at cardtalk2018.com, where Matt writes a review on cards every week. Keeps up with what we do here. He adds playthroughs and bonus cards, and he does a lot of awesome things over there at the blog that we only can dream of doing on the pod. And we have a playthrough series, or we do a live playthrough. It's not live anymore, but Micah, he does Second Breakfast, where he releases like building constraints for decks and plays scenarios with those decks that he builds, and he has fun doing that. That's over on our YouTube channel. Just about nearing the end of my Angmar Awaken campaign play with my Sylvan deck. That's a lot of fun. I did that. So that's good stuff. And then lastly, we are doing swag this year. So if you want to get a chance to do swag, we're getting close here. We're getting close. Depending on when this episode drops, if you become a patron in April, then you are eligible for swag as long as you join the $5 level. So $5 level, you have to be a patron for all the way to October. That earns you swag, helps us support the show and what we do here at Card Talk, all these different things that we do. So we are trying to thank you for being amazing for us. But Ted, that was a lot of information. What's today's card? Make sure you take a deep breath before you read it.
It is Lorien's Wealth.
Oh,
yeah. I know you've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Have you really?
So Lorien's Wealth is a 3-cost lore event that reads action, target a player, that target player draws 3 cards. I'm just going off memory. How close am I?
Choose. That's the only one that you have. It's an action. It says choose a player, not choose target a player. And it says choose that player draws 3 cards.
Yeah. So, Dave, how rich is Lorien?
Not rich. This card.
Enough.
Here's the thing. Okay. And I'm sure that you'll have more detail and you'll say it in a lot better way than I will, but a lot of times card draw only impacts the player who has it. This is a way to choose somebody to let them draw cards. And so, one card for one resource, the problem is that there's just been so many other better card draw. And we did, and Ted, you were part of the pod when we did it. We did a whole bank of episodes on card draw. And we chose not to do Lorien's Wealth in that bank because people just don't play it anymore. It's like, you know what? Worry about your own dang card draw. We don't need you. I'm not going to worry about you drawing cards. I'm going to worry about me drawing cards. And so, if you look at, I think the main card draw cards, Daron's Runes, Drinking Song, those... I think Barivore, you can choose somebody else to draw cards. But, Galadriel, you can choose somebody else to draw cards. But, mainly the card draw is is for you. So even that you get to choose a player, it's still just not worth it.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty good. That's definitely its strength. Its strength is just target a player, action speed. It's a tad over costed now, I think, and a lot of players.
A tad. Daron's runes were 0.
Well, but Daron's runes doesn't net you any cards. Right?
It doesn't, but it gets you 2 new cards that you didn't see.
Yes, this card will actively, net somebody else 3 cards or net yourself 2 cards. But lore has a lot of ways to draw cards. They've added cards,
right?
And a lot of heroes do card draw. Like I'd rather just play if I want to give a player a card draw. Like lore Bearvor is the way to go. Yes, you have to spend your hero action to do it, but you can just do it all the time, and you can, you just have it available, and it's
you become
2
the
cards.
Hero of the table if you're using Bearvor, and you're like, you get a card, you get a card, you get a card.
I do actually have this support deck that all it does is hand out cards and resources. So it uses cards like Leadership Denethor, and it's like, oh, here's a resource. Why don't you have 2 cards also to spend that money?
Right.
It's like, oh, thank you. They're like so shocked.
Right. Deep knowledge, right? Isn't deep knowledge the one that draws you like that? Everybody draws cards,
at
for
the cost
2
of
threat.
doing 2.
Yeah, 2
but like
threat.
Arguably, like I'd rather a lot of players would rather take 2 threat than like spend 3 money, 3 resources.
3 money. You just said the quiet part out loud.
And it's really Lord of the Rings inflation is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Maybe deflation, right? Because this is a core set card, and then card draw became so like.
And like a lot of players for to pay 3 for 3 is like you consider it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Like you're paying 1 resource to draw 1 card. You can do that with Leadership Gildor. Right. Who's pay a resource, and you can just do it all the time, even though it's only 1 card at a time. You can choose a player, and they can do it.
Gandalf Search.
That play's coming, my friend. One day.
Check that episode out, everybody.
Yeah,
that was one of the most fun episodes.
I'm going to Gandalf Search David to death. That was a good episode. Yeah, so 1-to-1's not good, especially when you look at like even Mithrandir's advice. Is 1 cost, and you draw a card for each hero with a printed lore icon. Now that has a lot more restrictions on it, but a lot of players will play it if you have 2 lore heroes, then you're paying 1 for 2,
right?
And it's already like twice as good.
Exactly.
So now you can't target a player, and you have to have 2. So yeah, there's other restrictions. This is the most free,
and by free you mean expensive.
Like it's the most free to play. Like it's action speed, pick a player. Like you can't get any less restrictive than that.
Right. It's super flexible.
Yeah, there's a lot of other ways to draw cards. A lot of heroes that do it, and again, most players factor that into their deck. They're gonna play I need some form of card draw, whether they're playing tactics, like whatever. They're gonna play some type of card that lets them do some type of cycling. And there's every sphere has form of card draw, just that like lore has more than the most,
right?
But still, every sphere has something, and players build in something to rotate or cycle cards, and this is just too much,
right? So I'm the Hobbit guy. Here's a thing. So a good meal, what does that do?
A good meal, it's a 0 cost attachment that goes on a Hobbit, and you can discard it to reduce the cost of an event that matches your sphere by 2.
Right.
When you play it.
And so you're going to play, a lot of times you play Lord Pippin in that build. So, I mean, that's okay. But here's the thing, the problem is that a good meal, I struggle to find targets for a good meal a lot of times. So if you're only playing a good meal to play Lorien's Wealth, you probably have a prop, right? Because you're just targeting events, So the Hobbit events, there's not a ton of Hobbit-ish events that you're doing, So There's some, of course.
There's plenty of good targets, like Hotam Bombadil is a 2-cost card that requires hobbits. That's 2 lore, right? So like you could there's it's gonna be tough to find targets, but like if you have some events you want to play, you can make all that stuff work and have it be effective, and that's probably the best way. Like you could also combo it with any other. You could just play leadership too, and be like, I'm just gonna play leadership. I'm gonna play Theodred and just give an extra resource to my lore hero that quests. Then you have more money to do those kinds of things, and that's a viable strategy too. It's just maybe not the most efficient, but it's.
How about this? Get rid of Lorien's Wealth, play Spirit, and just play Ancient Mathom. 3 cards, 1 cost. Especially if you're playing solo. Done.
Yeah. So solo Ancient Mathom's great, and then Ancient Mathom by comparison, it's 1 for 3, so much better. But there's a lot more restrictions. You have to be the first player.
First player, right? You have to be playing Spirit, right.
This is like on-demand card draw.
Yep.
So it's.
But I think all of those reasons make this card like something that you may want to play, but you aren't ever going to play.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the artwork?
Yeah, let's take a look.
So let me just tell you that this is the worst.
It's like
Magali Villanueva artwork, but it's still good.
I thought it was like some dude looking down a well, but instead it's like some elf dude looking at like an apple. There's like a basket of apples.
I'm not sure. Maybe just looking somewhere. It's like a faceless elf too when you scroll in. Like
the
3
the forest
fingers
is good,
right
and the light is good. There's like sunshine coming through the forest and on this elf, and I'm like, okay, I get a Lorien feel from the background.
Yes, it definitely feels there, and this is like a little stream that goes through. Maybe the river. What's the mirror or something? Is that the? But I doubt it. I don't know. But there's no face on the elf. Like objectively, there's no face on the elf. Like you zoom in, there's no face on the elf, and on the right hand, there's only 3 fingers. So this is early Magali Villanueva, and it's just not. It's not up to what we expect from her. So. She just loves elves, and she did not score on this one. Should we ring this?
Yeah, why don't we?
You didn't really have much to say about the art, so I know when it's. I know the non segue means to move along. So, anyways, for anybody who doesn't know, or maybe you've forgotten, or maybe you're new to the show. And if you have been a veteran of the show, you probably know that we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary scale where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10. And a 1 is the 1 card to rule them all, and a 10 is the card that we throw back into the firing chasm from whence it was made. So, Ted, I don't know who went first last episode, but
why don't you go? Please go.
So,
I'm asking.
Lorien, here's the thing.
Lorien is not as wealthy as you think.
Right. Even out of the core set, its card...
money is devalued.
Yeah. This card...
economy's out of whack.
Right. Shrinkflation. Like, is that what's going on now? The big thing. So, I don't know. But just even out of the core set, this card is almost on... You have so many other options for card draw, even out of the core set, that, like... you have to be super desperate to want to play this card. Undeniably, it is maybe one of the most flexible bang for your buck cards, but I don't know. You might as well just, I don't know, bring your own card draw, worry about your own card draw to make your own deck go, and then you don't need to have anybody playing Lorien's Wealth. The only niche case where I can see this is going is if you are coming up with a 2 or 3 player fellowship on your own to play yourself, and that you're trying to pilot 2 or 3 decks together, and you're like, well, I want to make sure that I have I can have people draw or whatever. Like, but then again, you're still not. Just use Barivore. Like, if you're playing that many heroes, you can afford to just use Barivore every round. So this, man, I want to drop a 10 on this so bad just because you don't play it. You know what? I'm going with it. It's 10 right up there. The end comes Brock Iron Fist and Lorien's Wealth. Even though card draw is one of the most important mechanics of the game.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like this card you're still not using. Ted, what do you got?
Yeah, it's just I don't want to pay 1-to-1 if I can help it, and I don't want to help this card along. I might, if I'm actually building a Hobbit deck and I'm already running. Actually, that is probably one of the most common use cases. Is if I'm building the Hobbit deck and I'm playing a good meal, and I have other targets, I might be like, well, this is not so bad. But again, like the two lore Hobbit heroes, Bilbo and Pippin, are built in card draw. Like,
right.
But back in the day when my card pool was smaller, I was playing Bilbo in lore, and I was using my resources to target sometimes other players to draw cards on top of his own card draw.
That's because you were playing this game incorrectly, Ted.
There's no such thing. No.
It's a cooperative game. You can play it however you want.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 9. But it's just less efficient. But
you're still trying to be nice to this card.
it can be used to effect, and if you play it on someone, they're going to be like, wow, it's just be like, holy smokes. And you could let someone draw into a card that helps make their deck run better, like an ally they need or an attachment they need. Right. And if they get it, but there's just better ways to do it.
Here's what I say. If this card were to just, like Thanos, snap and it disappeared, it went off into the, nobody would say, you know what we need? We need a 3-cost, anybody can draw 3 cards card.
Yeah. Yeah, there could actually be I feel like a lot of the cards that we rate at like 9 and below, maybe even 8, could be Thanos snapped away.
Yeah. And nobody would miss them, probably.
It's like, we'd live without it. Yeah, it'd be fine.
I think that if we didn't know this card existed, we wouldn't be sad that it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, anyways. So, there you have it, everybody. So far, so good. We only have a few more episodes before we're done with the core set forever and for always until something else weird happens. So, okay, everybody. See you next week. Have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.